It's in progress. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday book launch. We've got a super amped group today because we're all here to celebrate Lindsey Royce's book. And I just really want to say I'm so glad you're here. Really looking forward to the Book of John. I'm going to do a brief introduction and then I'm going to turn it right over to Lindsey. If you have questions that occur while she's reading, feel free to put it in the chat section so I can circle back and you don't forget what question you had. If you want to read for open mic and Karen hasn't already put you on the list, go ahead and put a note in the group chat and we'll get to you. Lindsey Royce's poems have been published in many journals, including Cutthroat, a journal of arts, the Hampden-Sydney Review, the New York Quarterly, Poet Lore, and Washington Square Review. Her poems have been nominated for Pushcart Prizes in several years. You are on a streak, too. I'm sure it's still 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. We can add to the list now. Royce's first poetry collection was Bare Hands, and it was published in 2016. And her second collection, Play Me a Revolution, was published in September of 2019. It won second prize for poetry in the 2020 Independent Publishers Book Awards. Book of John is her third collection of poetry and is dedicated to her husband, Kevin Bouldin, who died young from stomach cancer. I know we've already had the privilege a couple weeks back of hearing Lindsey read one of the poems from the book. I'm going to turn it right over, and just so much gratitude that we have you here. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you, Malika, for having me. I mean, and for everybody who's here with all this enthusiasm. I'm very happy. I'm going to read, they're all elegies, so I'll read pretty much straight through, and I'll stop to introduce something only if it's really necessary, and that'll give people more of a chance to do the open mic. I have it planned out. It should come out to exactly 20 minutes. I usually rehearse these things, especially if there's an open mic and, limited time. So the first poem that I'm going to read is called Portrait in Half Light. Portrait in Half Light. My husband could be anyone in this half light. I pay gentle attention to massaging his toes, the balls of his feet, his arches, the only body parts the cancer hasn't slit like the gut of a fish. I am not granted the luxury of turning back, becoming salt stone like Lot's wife. I contemplate his full mouth, no longer quick to grin, but grim on his bony, dying face. Busy leaving, his hands rant in his sleep. They twitch, strip a line, and reel in rainbows, cutthroats, browns, trout he cooks into a dream almondine. All I can manage are the tasks before me, to inspire, encourage, put locks of his hair at the feet of statues of Jesus, Brahma, Buddha. The hook that would steal him from me judders through the hours, its steel piercing hope. Chiaroscuro, the altar of the white sheet, hints the fabric is light itself, upon which his skeletal body leans into my arms, a living La Pieta. My resolve is marble, my powerlessness absolute, while his green eyes flicker open, supernaturally pale, and I hinge another panel to paint a diptych of our life, one in which he gets succor, mercy, and his share of joy. I would change this narrative the way I alter lucid dreams, turn morphine into manna, transform his agony with drugs and prayer. We would nestle by a fire, dream not of exotic travels, victory, fortune, or perfect love, but of laughing at stand-up on Netflix, playing with our dogs in snow-tromped fields, my husband's steak à poivre steeping the house in peppercorn, butter, cognac. I pray for these small marvels, now extravagant, and beyond John's weak reach, which cannot grip to twist out the deep-set hook that yanks him away. Against my dread, I pray for every beat of his heart to moan, holy, 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 whole, against the emergency alert blaring, against what's left of our stupid hope. The next poem I'm going to read is called The Gift Tower because we're in the season. And when he was dying, I got this poem out of a statement he made. I went nuts buying him everything. If I could buy it for him, I bought it for him. It didn't matter if it was, like a toilet for the downstairs, a commode, or if it was, nice shirts. I just bought it for him. And one day he said, "You can't buy me well." And it just crushed me. So this poem is called The Gift Tower. Let me see where I can see better over here, I think. Against science, against the cancer that spread from his stomach to hip, against mathematics and wisdom, I pled, please, God thing, words that beat like panicked wings, please help me wrap his packages to perfection. I slid scissors down the red plaid's white stripe, tying ribbons into elaborate bows with candy canes, a Leatherman, a mini flashlight, a fish-shaped bottle opener that doubled as a keychain. He was too fatigued to wrap my presents, so I did that too, with black polka dot paper and silver bows, taking special care with the diamond wedding ring to stack on our simple courthouse band. I bundled gifts from our 6 dogs in lime green bags with cartoon penguins. He'll be happy, I thought, having presents from the dogs. I spared no expense, prepared a grand Christmas for him. The tower of 28 packages climbing the wood stove pipe like a creeping vine, its own bright tree across the room from the real one. Although he was coming home for hospice, I bought him things to keep him warm for chemo: a winter coat, flannel shirts, driving gloves, wool socks, and things he wanted: a Le Creuset Dutch oven, an antique Wagner cast iron skillet, and 3 boxes of Penzeys spices so he could cook himself happy. When he'd returned from hospital to hospice, we celebrated the belated Christmas with his mom, our dogs, and the rest of his family on FaceTime. John smiled, holding up each gift for the camera, except the Dutch oven and iron skillet, which were too heavy for him to lift. The next poem I'm going to read is entitled Everything Open. Okay. Everything open, open. He struggles with the yogurt's flimsy foil, and I stop my mouth with coffee and avoid eroding what's left of his pride. Biology flung him rough and random as an empty bag in high wind. Once calloused from swinging hammer and axe, his hands tremble to reach the lemon tang. His wrist that flicked a 40-pound bag of kibble over a rock onyx shoulder fails, breaks like a bad fishing cast. I don't touch my yogurt, grip the coffee cup firm, hoping to be casually cogent, ignore that something is wrong. He used to brag he had working man's muscles, not luggage-toting guns guys build at gyms. Silently I pray, plead he'll survive, but observe his sunken chest, deflated as a blown tire. I pray to hear him butch, even about skim milk. Get whole milk, not the pussy kind. This morning cardboard fell from the new shirt that his vanity ordered, a size large when his chest is pinched to a medium. The shirts don't lie. The cancer has spread, burned out of bounds into his bones, devouring him. His hands fight with the yogurt's foil, quiver like a mourning dove's wings, resting in divine palms that could free or kill, and will. The next poem I'm going to read is called If Only Your Buttery Voice. If only your buttery voice. If only I could summon you back to our bed, where belly to belly and amid my favorite plum cognac candles, we could make love one last time. I want to hear your breath, a cello in my ear, stroke your sweaty back as silky as lanolin, given to me just one more time, and solid, real, not some peyote fantasy. I'd sacrifice my home to bring you back. I wouldn't take for granted the panorama that was us. And if rain jeweled our bedroom windows, then let it rain. Let me hold you again, swallow every letter of your name, apologize for the ways I hurt you. Let me solve the puzzle of where you are, bring you back to me for one more night. I promise I won't fumble your gifts again, nor in anger protest your heart never gave them. The next poem I'm going to read, I do have to introduce. We sparred a lot verbally, so there's some irreverent back and forth in here. And if you knew him and he would do things like put shaving cream on my waffles instead of whipped cream. I mean, he was always pranking me, and we were always sparring. So this poem has some kind of edgy stuff in it, but it's not meant to be. He would laugh. The Last Cookie. I promised myself I would not write more about you or obsess about where in creation you are. And yet I need you to shatter the candlelight in our living room, where I lean into your deathbed pillows, my feet on the ottoman, tears scouring my eyes. You haven't conjured cooking scents in weeks, your usual spectral love notes. No eggplant parmesan, no rosemary roasted potatoes, no peanut butter cookies ghosting the oven. How we'd screw each other over for the last cookie. And I would give you love, money, an apple a day glistening bright through summer leaves. I would give you purple plums, their sweet, tart meat. I would raise your brilliant, sorry ass from the dead. But know this, my beloved spar partner, my stubborn king of the right wing, my roadhouse scholar, my honey bun. It should come as no revelation, no wish-fulfilling revelry. I still wouldn't leave on the plate for your spirit the last damned cookie. And if you haven't figured out by now, he was a chef. Okay. The next poem I'm going to read is called Fever Me. Fever Me. I didn't want you wholesome, socially sanctioned, an appropriate arm piece, proper guy in tails atop a wedding cake. I wanted you to consume me, take me whole in your bare hands, fever me like water that purifies, and then evaporates. But death's hands polished our dirge, left it shiny as a chorus of top hats, and no number of vodka martinis can convince me such trickery ever spares the rabbit. Today the mist is thick, and I wander inside, find comfort in the stillness of camouflage. There I can imagine I'm dead with you, sealed in that envelope to nowhere, spirit empty, with no legible address. Okay. The next poem I'm going to read is Bacon Wrapped Dates and the Last Word. Bacon Wrapped Dates and the Last Word. Stones pocked our dirt road to the end of my vision. There, perspective hones to a point as small as your vaccine scar. You were making bacon-wrapped dates for a Thanksgiving party, and I recall wishbones that, like all superstitions, are archived with chuckles from past holidays, where you sliced turkey so gently the meat could have been butter. What sacrifice is in the filigree of my dying geranium's blush? One inhabiting that soon forgotten hovering between life and death, the last inhale, the letting go, the book's last words, cinema's fade to black. I forget what breakfast juice I sipped while your body stiffened, your gregarious green eyes waiting to be plucked. This year, I'll try to cook Thanksgiving potluck, use spices you left behind, your oregano, your sage, no peyote to lose the holiday to fantasy, this grave anniversary, the beginning of your end. There is nothing uniform about grief, though I'd scissor it into islands like the Cyclades, their trees, pomegranate and fig, fruit sweet after the bacon-wrapped dates you'd been cooking before you collapsed, and the ambulance squared up the drive, your food left warm on the counter. How could I know you'd begun to leave this life while you were making side dishes? Who could have suspected your cranberry tart would foreshadow the color of the body bag, zip slowly over your perfect face? The next poem I'd like to read is, wait one second. I actually have to look for one that I want to read. Where is it? I'm sorry, I'm delayed here. He was also a Marine, and there's a poem I'm looking for that speaks to his service and his death, and I'm not finding it. So I guess I will just go on with what I planned. The next poem I'm going to read is Moving Through Air That Is Really You. Silver pine cones praise frost that glitters like salt on mittens. You'd be proud. I made breakfast, cooking for myself, a struggle since your death. Sniffing the garlic, basil, and peppercorn is the only way I understand spices. I braised last night's rump roast in scents that steeped the kitchen in you. Your recipes milked hot tears from my eyes, keeping you alive. Remember your drum roll when I cooked you a meal while you could still eat? After that, all I could manage was obsessively baking bread, which you didn't need since you were forced to forego eating. Your daily cooking in your dying dream state, and I watched, helpless, as your movement dislodged your feeding tube. I'm at a crossroads, John. I can keep dying with you or walk on, despite the muddy path of my destiny alone. Tell me how I can fall out of love with your suffering, yet stay in love with you. My feet heavy with the gravity of each step. I don't find balance in motion. Now you're nothing I comprehend, not the dead starling nor the living raven, but maybe you're the burst of light, illuminating the underside of wings. And I believe, oh, this is called The Light of Fresh Grief. And I'm kind of reading some seasonal poems. This is the second to last poem I'm reading. The light of fresh grief. Because I don't have the heart to display our tree from last Christmas, your last Christmas, and because I tried into awkwardness to stop your dying and failed, I filled our home with those firecracker lights you loved. You found them festive, blinking from hot to cool, hollering, in fact, red, green, orange, blue, bounding off silver garlands. Now the house might as well be a magic mystery tour. Lights everywhere, around windows, around your altar, up the wood stove's black pipe, even on the dog crates, much to little Bluesy's peak. Up the banister, across the tops of kitchen cabinets, these lights spit reiterating flame, illuminating a mosaic of photos taped to the fridge, to mirrors, doors, shameless lights as indomitable as I thought you were. I do not believe you've whisked away, dissipated like smoke. Defiant, I jack up the electric bill, lighting our home, playing chorales, like Hodie, like it is well with my soul, like joy to the world. And then the last poem I'm going to read is called First Christmas Without You. Did I skip a poem? Excuse me 1 second. I want to see if I skipped something. No. Okay. First Christmas Without You. I passed the grapes and loaf to no one, set the teapot between two cups. I tear the heel off your sourdough, dip it into your homemade oil, luminous gold green pool on a white plate. A yeast of sorrow bloats in my throat. Christmas carols shatter the silence. My red sweater, your twinkling lights, the echo of colors on the curve of a glass. I never understood how much I needed you to sustain me. Under the blanket, we lay dying. At the time, I thought it was only you. Thank you.
Freaking holy smokes. If people want to unmute and just pause in this moment, holy cow.
Wow.
Lindsey, that was just heartbreaking and uplifting at the same time. And I think Karen wrote a phrase that I want to come back to because I think that was exactly how I was feeling. I'm trying to find the quote.
Know that it's very bleak.
You have it, Karen. Yeah, the honesty and the details in these poems is exquisite and heartbreaking at the same time. I keep holding my breaths. So moving.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just
I really appreciate that because I wrote
powerful.
and the book was meant to be a memory. I'm a little disappointed I didn't read a poem about that included his service, but you know, I wanted to keep it to 20 minutes. And I wanted people to know him.
And that's, I think that comes across. I feel like we met
Yeah.
two people in love, and the
Yeah.
longing there is so immense, Lindsey. And I wanted to ask you if you'd be willing to look for that poem as we're going on. And because I do want to honor, I think that the beautiful thing about this book is that it is the book of John, but it really recalls all the people that we love, and have had to say goodbye. There's a particular, yes, it's very personal, and yet the way you describe grief is just something I think all of us connect with. I know I
Yeah.
deeply resonated with your descriptions and the way they were so exact in nature. And I did want to point out, everybody, I put the link in there to Press 53 so you can buy the book. But I did want to ask you, Lindsey, is a way that we can get an autographed copy? Can we reach out to you via your website?
Absolutely. If you contact me via my website, I'll send you an autographed copy. If if we can Venmo or PayPal or whatever, or whatever works for you is fine with me. I'm not. I'm
Awesome.
more about. I don't care about like the methods. I care about getting him out there. And I did
And, Lynn,
a poem, but I'll wait until other people read.
and I
Yay,
want to
I
say
felt like you
something.
jump in.
Sorry, I just want to say about the poem about cooking and the cookie, about you'd eat the cookie no matter what. I just want to say I resonated very much with that poem because I love my husband to death and he could be starving and I'd still eat the last cookie. Like, sorry, you found you another cookie.
We fought about the last cookie. We fought. He would get so mad if I ate the last cookie, and I'd be like, ah.
He will eat the last cookie on me every time. But if I eat the last cookie, oh my Lord, like the house is falling apart. That
Everybody
why
knows in
would
my
I
house
ever
as
think
the
about
grandma, like you ate my last cookie, it's like you answer to grandma. Yeah, and it's
It's like he could have every single cookie and there'd be one cookie left and I eat it. And it's like, why did you eat that one? It's like, I ain't even had one yet.
I'll take the package and hold it up, and like in the sky, like answer me.
I'm a little reluctant to read that one because it says, "I'll raise your sorry, I'll raise your something sorry, and I'll raise your brilliant sorry ass from the dead."
Yeah, it was
So we
brilliant. Sorry, I'm sorry. I wrote that down because it resonated with me, Lindsey.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he was brilliant, uneducated, always in the gifted program, so bored with school he couldn't sit through 3 months of a semester. He had all the work done in the first 3-4 weeks.
So Lindsey, I wanted to say that one thing that I really resonated with, and you and I, I think within the same year, or at least two, that you went through the death of John, and I went through the death of my brother. And I read about there, but there's so many similarities about the last food and the whole thing about sustenance and food and like the body bag and like the sunken in chest. Like there was so many things that I experienced along with you in many ways with my brother. And so I really respect the deep grief work in this book. And I love that you did it to honor him. And I think he really lives on in that way through all of us.
Yeah.
And likewise with your book, which is beautiful. Connie has a book out. It's Broken Metronome, and it's a
Good metronome.
beautiful book.
Yeah, I read here. I did my launch here.
And also, sorry. Also, I want to say I really resonated when you said that you love John, but you fell out of love with. Hopefully, I don't get the wording wrong. I don't want to disrespect you. That you fell out of love with his like suffering and cancer and stuff. And I resonate with that too. And I'm gonna read a poem. I'm gonna ask you permission first before I read it, Lindsey. But my husband has really bad mental health issues, and we're going through that right now. And like I love my husband to death, but I hate his mental health. It is such a strain right now. And so that resonated with me too. Like, you can love someone so much, but then they're suffering. You're just like, oh my God, like quit.
That's hard. I'm reading a book. My 4th book is about mental health. So if you want to get together and chat, please let me know.
Yeah, we can.
But
Well, also, is it okay if I read a poem about my husband's mental health with
yes.
you? Okay, because I don't want to disrespect you or make you think anything because you have that beautiful book about your husband.
You're not disrespecting me. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Does anybody have any questions to Shamala?
Oh, I just wanted to say that I thought it was really beautiful that this is a book about grief, but the imagery that you use and so on is about the beauty and the joy that was the joint lived experience. It's like you're not, obviously it's grief, and it makes the grief more real and more poignant because there was something that was lost.
Yeah.
But you're giving us a picture of that wonder that you shared. And a lot of people don't manage to do that or hold on to that memory when they're grieving. So it's really beautiful. Thank you.
I really appreciate that. I've gotten comments that say it's both sort of grief-stricken and hopeful at the same time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's
I love
something in the
Is though,
vitality.
it's like you have all these hopes mixed in with all your sorrows, and you're like both grief-stricken but hopeful, like many times a day. Yeah.
Lindsay,
And the
it
way
feels like
you recreate his image. Go ahead, sorry.
Who was talking? I think Karen. Who else was?
I was Lindsay, I was just gonna say it's a beautiful sharing of grief, but it's also it feels like such a celebration of his life and your life together. It was just really, it was so moving.
Yeah.
With it feeling the same things, like I was full of joy about this man and your love for him, and also the sorrow of his passing. It's just a beautiful poem. It's just so moving.
Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to do. That's like the perfect comment. That was my goal.
I think it was perhaps the most moving reading I've ever heard. It
Oh,
really affected me.
How? Wow.
Yeah.
wow. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's very
Yeah,
neat.
I really liked when he said to you, you can't buy me well.
Oh,
I mean, I just fell over. I mean, over and over and over again with such exacting phrases and this depth of, to me, that's what life is about. When you can hold all of it, you can walk and talk and chew gum at the same time and breathe and have hard things happen and still be able to live in this sense of humanity that it's untouched, you know. And what I think your book will do, and has done definitely for me, is that it creates that human acceptance of what grief is. And each person's grief journey is different, but relatable at the same time.
right. We all know loss, but it's all different.
Yeah, because their story's different. Yeah.
Well, and then a lot of
Absolutely.
it depends on how we're raised around grief. Are we taught to not have grief, suppress it, go into anger, not talk about it? Is it socially acceptable to grieve? A lot of people have all these societal expectations on, like, after a year, like the whole thing called move on, whatever that means. And so I think there's all this stuff about our childhoods, our societal expectations, and there's so much stuff around grief. I don't believe grief really ends. I think it's kind of, they were the sum total of our experiences.
Yeah.
Do you know who Anderson Cooper is in CNN?
Yeah.
I'm a real CNN fan. I watch it all the time. His podcast is about grief.
It's
And,
really good.
Yeah, I haven't
Check
been
it out.
to it, but I was thinking of it. And
I did. I
might be
listened to a
something-
couple of them. It's really good.
You did see it?
Yeah, I've listened to a couple of them. It's very good.
Yeah. Yeah, he's good just in general, but
Well, I really needed to hear one line from one of your poems, and it was my powerlessness absolute.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
it just hit me in the chest because you know it's so honest and so true, and you know we try so hard to fix things that we can't fix.
Yeah.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you, everybody. That makes me feel really good. And I'm really happy that John is living on through you. And that's what matters most to me.
Beautiful.
I
love
love
you,
how
Lindsay.
everybody has, commented and really kind of connected into each other and added on to it. That was lovely. And I love what you said, Karen, because the thing that the grief was there, but I felt like I met somebody through your words, and got this vitality, just radiating out from John in the descriptions that was, very awe-inspiring.
Yeah, that's
It definitely made me feel like I met somebody.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to read one of his Marine poems, because he was so brave and he was a career Marine, and I just couldn't find it.
Oh,
So I'll
I'm
wait till
glad you did.
someone else reads.
Would
and
it be okay? Okay, I was gonna say, can we circle back around during open mic so we can hear that poem?
Yeah, I'll read
Yes,
it.
okay.
And
That's
I'd
awesome.
love it. How are you? It's 5:40. Do we have enough time to hear from everybody? Because I'd like
We
to.
do very well. We do very well. You'd be sick.
Be rolling.
Okay.
Yeah,
This
I
is the
think we're
fun part
good.
for
Does
me.
anybody have a question that I missed? I checked through the chat section and I didn't see anything. Okay. So then we can move on to open mic and then we'll get to hear the Marine poem. And Karen was kind enough to write down who is for open mic. So I'll turn it over to you, Karen.
Oh, okay. I'll just go down my list. Juan, I did want to ask if you wanted to read. I think that you came in after we were taking signups.
Yes, I'd love to. I couldn't come earlier, Lindsay. Sorry for missing.
Okay, and I think I missed Kristen also. Kristen, did you want to read? I'm not
Kristen,
hearing.
it's good to see you. Are you there?
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Oh,
are you?
Were you here? Did you hear the reading?
I did. I tuned in at 6:15 my time, so 7:15 yours.
Oh my gosh, I didn't notice. I just didn't notice because it was a side of your face in the picture. I'm so grateful you came. She knew him.
Sorry, 6:16. Yes, I just enjoyed hearing you read.
Oh, thank you, Kristen.
Yes,
Thanks
I miss
for-
John too, and I
Really
love
appreciate
that you. Yes.
Thank you. I'm gonna stop talking because people want to read.
And Kristen, did you want to share a poem during open mic tonight, Kristen, or are you listening to open mic?
No, thank you. I just enjoyed listening to it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, I
Yeah.
guess I'll just go through the list in the order I wrote it down, and if I've left somebody off, let me know. Did you want me to do that, Malika, or did you want to call on people?
Perfect, Karen, you're perfect.
Malika, I don't have you on the list.
I'm not reading. I'm listening tonight.
All
How dare
right.
you.
Okay, I'll harass you about that later. So first up, I have Christy on the list. Christy.
Okay, so I'm gonna read a poem I haven't read in a while, but I had an experience today. Somebody that bought my chapbook a few months back actually took the time to write me a letter and tell me why they liked each poem in the book.
Wow.
And then they told me what their favorite poem was. And she left me her phone number in the letter.
wow.
So I called her and we talked, and she said, even though she wouldn't be at the reading tonight, would I read this poem? So of course I said yes. So this is titled 1 Minute, and this is in Finding Her. Here we go. 1 minute to be who I was, to grieve my loss, to take stock of what I have, to accept it all, to strategize a forward move, to imagine one foot in front of the other before quietly stepping into who I am now. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Wow. Oh my goodness.
And I put it in the chat section. Finding Her by it's by Finishing Line Press by Christy Williams. If you want to reach out and grab that book.
Thank
Yay,
you.
Malika. Yay, Malika. Okay, up next we have John Compton.
Well, hello everyone. And I love you, Lindsay. Kitty quit. Sorry. I love you, Lindsay. Mwah. I'm gonna read this poem. I have new poems. Shocking. I know. But so this one is called And Thank You for Taking Care of This. An object orbits me. It had collided into my body, then gradually deflected. Now too far away, at a distance where technology hasn't made advancements to navigate. I observe it like a moon. Its visibility hinders on the time of day. Yet, unlike the moon, nothing reflects from its face. It goes dark, it grows darker. And that's that poem.
Ah,
Wow,
it
thank
grows
you, John.
darker.
Thank you.
Wow. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Julian. Julian? Unmute yourself, Julian.
There we go. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay. Lindsey, I was so moved by your book and by your reading. It's just, I was just dumbstruck all the way through. So many fine, wonderful images, so much to grieve about and to take joy in. I love your book. I'm going to order it for sure.
Thank you.
This thing I'm going to read, however, is a poem that was suggested to me by John's story about his car. It's a bit of a smart-ass poem, but I like smart-ass. It was recently up at the Piker Press online. It's called More Than Macaronic. It has an epigraph. A work of art is an act of aggression. Spoken by Gully Jimson, the painter in Joyce Carey's novel, The Horse's Mouth. Praise be that Orlando Ricardo Menes Tower Rababo gives syllabic utterance. Praise with him be to speakers of dead and dying languages in whose grammars, universal lexicons, word hordes made and patois, argots, pigeons, spanglishes, we plot the Maltas, Elbas, diasporic unplaces where the poet's art resides. Where the poet's art resides, having taken root in quicksands of history, cleaving flesh and marrow like a knife. The poet himself, an assassin who, retired, checks his mail at the local PO in case his services might be required again, but with his eye out for a stalker like himself, representing a former sponsor's call to put him down because he knows too much, in which situation he will retrieve his packed bag and abscond, taking with him such purloined treasures as the moon knows, descending blood on blood into water Mediterranean, his passports in Esperanto, Galagici, Catalan, Provençal, Comanche, Yoruba, Manx, and many another, so many indeed as Joseph's coat, to recall that their memories not forget to be, like parts of a junked automobile, left hollow with windows smashed, radio, catalytic converter, other saleable items removed, outside the church in Madrid, where he recently said a novena for his late mother. Thank you.
Wow. Awesome.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Wow. Ugh. All right, we're hot tonight, folks. Next up, we have Connie.
Hey, I'm going to read a book from Between Twilight. And most of you here that know me, and I think it's most of you, but just a trigger warning, but when you have sexual abuse as a child, sometimes we pick relationships later in our lives, more in my 20s, that emulate that kind of abuse. And so this is really a poem about that from my book, From Between Twilight. It's called Rough Sex. Because you never thought of it as rough. Because even while inside you, he can't reach the part of you that is holy. Because if you asked him to let go of your wrists, he would. Because begging for more is always consensual, even when your bones are nailed to your own oppression. Because you said it was okay while you were suffocating. Because you still have to sleep next to him. Because there is a gag order underneath the mattress. Because your mouth becomes an elegy in the middle of the night. Because there is a seance embedded in the ritual of sleep. And the night will never tell you how long it takes to drown in your own starlight. Thanks.
I put the connection to Between Twilight in the chat section.
Thank
If
you,
you want to
Malika.
get that book. New
Thank
York Quarterly publisher.
Thank you.
Wow, Connie, thank you. Ooh.
Yep.
All right, next up we have Cal.
There we go. This is called Magician Faust. There was a young magician once who accepted a gift, thinking his imagination insufficient to the task at hand, living and understanding other folks, and wanting, therefore, to walk among others in disguise. He thought the bargain quite the deal he needed, and it functioned for a time, a long time, until a day of reckoning came near, until he discovered he had lost his self along the way. Tortured, he walked hand in hand with death, night after night, day after day. Late one night, in desperation, he dove from heaven into an abyss, falling, falling, in the dark of a night that gave no clue of having a dawn. He woke, broken in his own home, alone, and knew he'd escaped one life into another, surprised to find it was the previous life he'd bargained away, and hardly believing his good fortune while somehow knowing that the other bargainer had lost his hold. He started back, though living with the pain and regret, to build the life he'd been born to, discarding the one he'd earned at such a high price for the one he'd had all along. Had he not thrown it away in return for the gift he never needed in the first place?
Awesome. Yep.
Wow. Wow, Cal. All right. Okay. Next up we have Donna.
Okay, sometimes we regret the things that we said to people. And this one time I told a poet that his poem sounded like Hallmark cards. So I think I deserved to title this particular poem, When You Care Enough to Send Your Very Best. It's the ritual of the Christmas cards. Buy a box of Santa, a box of nativity scenes, a box of peace on earth. Call the list. The drawer of cheap forever stamps is almost empty. Make a note of last year's returned mail. Remove the dead. Leave some of the dead in, not to pretend they're alive, but to conjure up a ghost from Christmas past. To remember, a gift is something other than the present.
Oh, wow.
Wow, Donna.
Hmm.
You guys. Woo. All right. Next up, we have Shamala.
Okay. This is a poem about tea. It's called 12 Tins. I have to explain myself at customs for carrying tea. But then it is 12 tins. Who does that? But it's the best tea in the world, you see. Only they don't export it along with the export type people like me, the ones who wondered what it would be like elsewhere. And would the shoes fit? They pinch in Malaysia, those nice girl shoes. Only safe if, a big if, if you color yourself very small. Bear responsibility without privilege, as here in the West we export people do too, though we didn't know that would be the way of it, nor that it would be without real tea. The best tea in the world is the tea from Malaysia. Please, all you people from India and Sri Lanka and China, please sit down. I'm not trying to insult you. Only being homesick for Cameron Highlands. That's where the tea grows. Roses as big as my whole face, too. And oh yes, for the tourists, a casino, where I once sat, simply, safely, in the middle of a winding hillside road with little traffic in the long ago, as I breathed the air and dreamed, foolishly deeming that present not enough, wanting more than the finest golden tips dancing in the sun, failing to value until 15,000 miles came between, the precious taste of that golden tea that carries the sense of home.
Gorgeous.
Oh, oh my goodness. Thank you, Shamla. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Next up, we have me. This is a short poem I'm going to read tonight, and I am very much in love with my husband, but apparently I may also be in love with former poet laureate of the U.S., Ted Kooser. So this is yet another of my poems written after reading one of his poems. And in this one, I use a lot of his phrases from his poems. So I'm going to indicate those by moving my hand as I'm saying his words. Hope that works. So this is November 18. November 18. I entered your poem, cloudy, dark, and windy. I gasped. My circle of light. I held my breath. Watching from darkness, I held this man with a moon on a leash. Your poem in my heart, long after I had finished your words. Ted Kooser.
I'm so sorry I have to sign off. It's 5 o'clock, but thank you. Congratulations, Lindsey, on your beautiful book, and to everybody here who's like my poetry family.
Love you, Connie.
Guys,
Thank
bye.
you, Connie.
Love you, Connie.
Bye, Connie. Okay, next up we have Pua Ali E.
You're
How
getting
did I
there.
do?
It should be Ali E, U-H.
Ali E.
No, U-H, Ali E.
Ali E.
Yes.
Pua Ali E.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
My poem's called Slathered. Like an egg thrown on my neighbor's house, the one where a curmudgeon lives with his silent wife. He crashes through his front door when my brother, sister, and I play our favorite games. He can be heard melting into the din of laughter and colorful fall days, the days that will eventually freeze him indoors. I'm hoping the fire of his chimney warm his heart like our joy sliding down the fluffy white hills. She stays behind the curtains, barely uttering a word. Though past summer days, I was captured by a humming of soft tendrils holding my attention. You know, she did this for years as we grew through our skirts and jeans, the ones climbing inches up our ankles. Those jeans overnight, I've become oversized, and now my shorts, though the waist is a little tight. When spring comes, so does the wail and flickering lights. They take her silence away. Her disappearance transformed us, though he now has become near silent as she was. The sun dapples his face, raised to the sky, a million tears flow in his hunched, shaking shoulders. His eyes look at us, and we invite him to join our family for lunch. He tells us his wife suffered for many years. He lovingly took care of her. He said he was sorry for scaring us. He was stricken with the door opening and closing at the same time, is why he yelled at us. He felt so defeated How could such joy exist when his darling wife was deteriorating by the day? He continued, every time I went back inside to make sure she was comfortable, she winked, saying, Junior, let those kids play. Their laughter reminds me that sound and silence bear an immortal witness.
Oh,
Mm. Wow. Powerful.
thank you. I'm going to try this again. Kua ali'i. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. Next up, we have Ron.
Okay. So I write mostly short stories and I have a limited number of poems. So you might hear something you've heard before. I'm going to read 2 a.m. at the Greensboro Super 8. Out in the clattering hall, they bellyache. We didn't do nothing wrong. But the officer drones his commands. The good old boys grumble, engines on idle, and the band of white light at the bottom of my door dims 3 times. The elevator clonks shut, and second floor sleepers slump into silence like families slipping back into a storm cellar. I press into my pillow, dumbstruck by those 2 old boys. Just up from Rockingham, they brag. Night of thunder, they hollered. Jimmy Johnson and Dale Jr., they play acted, then blindsided and cold-cocked their room, propped the door with a 6-pack of tall boys. The party moves into the hall. Where be the girls? Where's the bar people? This ain't Rockingham, dude. Oh, pop a can and hand it here, Junior. Open that bag of Doritos. My room spins south down the motorway toward NASCAR country, past their Dodge Charger, galloping north to restart the Civil War, cool cans between their legs. My bed pulls up to neighboring single wides, down a little from the speedway the boys came from. 2 mothers rise from their pillows, walk to a crib and lift, each one into her own slumbering arms, a child, wet and wailing, whispering, shush, little dumpling, shush. I drift again, and my pillow flies north to Philly, too many years and miles ago, after the divorce. The apartment complex, where my inconsolable daughter rises up to meet her mother's hopeless eyes, worlds away from whatever pit stop I'm at.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ron.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Next up, we have Juan.
Thank you, Kate. Karen, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
For some reason, I thought this would be a poem suitable for what I heard. It's pretty recent. It's called A Vision of My Granddaughter for Sophia. What if the light at the end of the tunnel is my granddaughter in a dress made of sweet shadows, holding the candle she lit up at my funeral? Now a woman who understands my prophecies, so silly when she was a little girl, entering 1st grade, a tunnel of her own. If anyone could compel me to emulate Jesus rising from his tomb in war-torn Jerusalem, it could be her. Her beauty, an amber since the beginning, when she learned to walk the impossible tightrope between her lovely unicorns and her newly minted parents. What if she reaches the tunnel's end and I'm standing so young now that I could even be her son, now that she's a woman and greets me, smiling, surprised, and holds me in her arms while I whisper, I told you I was not going anywhere.
Mm. Oh, beautiful.
Wow. Thank you, Juan. Wow.
Then
Ah.
I think we're at the end of open mic, so we can go back to Lindsey. And I just want to double check. Did anybody else want to read?
I see Laura
Yeah.
shaking her head no.
Okay. Well, thank y'all so much. That was once again, I love our open mics.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you, everybody. I really enjoyed that. I'm going to read this one poem. I don't read this one a lot. That's why I'm going to read it. It's called That Fracture. And John was a career Marine, and he was the first boots on the ground in the Gulf War. And so that'll give you a little bit of context. You could have died then, Gulf War, first special ops mission, but you aced it for our nation. It was when you boarded the helicopter, its rotors blasted by ground fire, that the chopper plummeted, spinning wild into the Persian Gulf. You could have died then, your to-do lists unfinished, blowing sand like bread stuck in your throat. But you swam, returned to the cloud-capped towers of our United States, victory for your valor. You brought home wounds, hearing, breathing, backbone. And when you felt a migraine coming on, you asked me to stroke your scalp, pained on the pillow. After swinging a hammer and your back ached, you'd ask me to massage it, which I did until my fingers felt the give and melt of your shoulders and spine. During the crash, did you see your life flash? Were you granted the option to reject death's peace? Immersed in water and machinery, you chose life, chose to remain in our mutilated world, in a combat far different than the one you'd fight with, the cancer that killed you and left my sobbing eyes raw. Through yellow nighttime windows, neighbors can see me talk to your ashes. My warrior, my hero, when you lay dying in hospice and snow kept rising over fallen icicles, the sun shone so brilliant you begged us to close the blinds so you could finish your work of dying. And in that morning's dark, just before dawn, when you surrendered your life's book, but not your wisdom that repeats, wordless, I, in my sorrow, began feeling for an opening, a fracture between despair and rage, the unsayable truths of poets, gentle words you offer from wherever you are that pull me from the water and into power, a mission of tenderness and compassion. Duty calls, you say, to inspire, to help heal. And I took that mutilated world from Adam Zagievsky, obviously.
Oh, I am so grateful you found that poem.
Oh,
Just gorgeous. Yeah, you begged us to close the blinds so you could finish the work of the time.
oh.
Holy smokes.
Mm-hmm.
That's reading it again gave me chills again.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all so very much for being here and celebrating John with Lindsey's beautiful poetry and sharing your own work. Once again, I'm just grateful to be in your good company. I'm so glad to see you too, Jesse. It's really good. Yep.
Well, I'm
Yes,
really
for sure.
happy. I'm happy that I met new people, new friends, and if you're on Facebook, friend me. If you don't like Facebook, just my website is in the chat. I've seen it several times, and you can get books through the website and you can contact me. I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Lindsey. I'm looking forward to getting a signed copy.
Mhm.
All right,
Yes,
everybody.
yes.
Yes. Karen, thank you as always for picking up my slack, which is always considerable.
Oh, that's crazy talk. I'm so happy to be here and doing whatever I can do.
So thank you all
This was
so
wonderful.
much. Yeah,
Oh
we
my
do.
goodness.
Juan just
Thanks,
said we have
everyone.
the hottest open mic in town. We do. It's true.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Malika, this was
Well,
Mike
excellent.
is fire.
Oh, it was so
It was
much fun.
so
I'm
much
just,
fun.
yeah, it's a great group. I'm so glad you were here, Lindsay. Thank you so much for letting us celebrate with you and for bringing John into our community.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you
appreciate
for
it.
inviting me. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really grateful.
All right, people. Be well.
Bye.
Thank you.